That speaks to me. Have you ever thought that or said that to someone? What speaks to you? Well, one of the most meaningful images in my life is the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's very likely that you've seen it in murals, in pop culture, and more. Our Lady of Guadalupe is the name given to an image that an indigenous peasant presented to the Bishop of Mexico in December 1531. I'd like to share with you today some of the ways that the image speaks to the indigenous people, to the Spanish, and to generations up to today, including my ancestors and me. In what today we know as Mexico, on December 9th, 1531, a Chichimec man named Cuatlatzin was walking along a hill called Tepeyac when a beautiful woman appeared to him and, speaking in his own native Nahuatl language, presented herself to be the Mother of God. She asked that he, who had the baptismal name Juan Diego, go to the local bishop and inform him of her request to build a church on that site. He went to the bishop as she asked, but was told to come back another day. On his way home, he encountered the woman again, and he apologized that he had failed in his mission because he was nobody of importance. However, she insisted that he was the chosen messenger. He went back to the bishop the next day, who did listen to the request this time, but asked for a sign, essentially for proof that this truly was a message from heaven. Well, the humble messenger, upon returning to Tepeyac, informed the Blessed Mother, who agreed to provide a sign the following day. Returning home, however, he found that his dear uncle had fallen sick and stayed home to take care of him rather than returning to Tepeyac the following day. Fearing that his uncle was close to death, Juan Diego departed home on December 12th to find a priest who could provide the last sacraments for his uncle. Although he intentionally avoided Tepeyac, the Blessed Mother met him as he was walking along. Embarrassed, he explained the situation to her, and she replied, "Am I not here who am your mother?" Assuring him that his uncle would recover, she told him to climb the hill and there gather flowers in December, and he was surprised to find flowers growing in a time and place where they normally did not grow. I will pause here to share that in native Mexican culture for centuries, flowers have been important symbols, themselves a type of language. Different blooms have various meanings. Back to the story. He gathered flowers and brought them to the Blessed Mother, who arranged them in her hands and on his tilma, or cloak, then rolled it up and instructed him to take this as a sign to the bishop. Well, when he arrived and untied the tilma, not only did those flowers present themselves to the bishop, but imprinted on the tilma itself was an image that caused the bishop to immediately fall prostrate to the ground. The image was of a dark-haired, mixed-race woman, prayerfully standing in front of the sun, with the moon at her feet and wrapped in a mantle of stars. This would have spoken to the bishop, who would have known the biblical scene from Revelation chapter 12. And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She brought forth a male child, who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. Her child was caught up to God and his throne. The woman in the image is pregnant, indicated by the higher location of the belt that she wore around her dress. And not only were those miraculous flowers familiar to the bishop from his native Spain, but the woman in the image was clothed with a dress that is covered with many different flowers, speaking ancient symbolic meanings to the indigenous people. One important flower is the four-petaled bloom appearing only over her womb. Any indigenous culture values the symbol of the four directions as a sacred sign, and my ancestors were no different. This flower also represents the highest deity of the indigenous people. Another symbol that many people don't initially realize that's present when they see the tilma image is that the woman's knee is raised, indicating that she is dancing. This would have also been a precious and important sign for the indigenous Mexicans and for all other cultures as well, because as much as I'm aware, most of our ancient ancestors thought that to pray, to dance, and worship are all the same thing. To dance is to bring ourselves into rhythm with all of creation. And traditional indigenous dance is rhythmic, bringing us into a meditative or prayerful state where we feel like we're in between earth and heaven. Our Lady of Guadalupe's story and image is also bound up with the story of her chosen messenger, Juan Diego Cuatlatzin, whose native name means eagle who speaks. A human figure with wings is seen below the woman in the image. Across cultures, it is the eagle who soars to the heights of heaven. And his baptismal name, Juan, speaks of being beloved by God. It's the name of the evangelist John, whose gospel is associated with the eagle. And the name Diego signifies someone who brings something that supersedes another thing. Juan Diego was the messenger of a woman who stands in front of the sun god and above the moon god, yet she worships a deity in her womb who is far greater than her. This mixed-raced woman, La Morenita, comes bearing an image of a god who longs to build bridges between cultures, social strata, to get involved in our human story, life, and culture, who finds our native languages and customs precious. She comes announcing a God who, in the person of Jesus, personally adopted human languages, culture, traditions, and family himself. This most precious message of a God who comes to us in our difficulties, who treasures the nobodies, and who speaks our language is one that gives me hope. I hope the next time that you see Mary's image as Our Lady of Guadalupe, that her message will also speak of hope to you.